Are Tigo optimisers finished in the UK? I can't answer that, but you can answer that. I want you to ask yourself the question, would you want them on your roof, knowing the risks that are attached? And also, if you're a solar installer like we are you willing to take the risk of offering that to your customers? We've had two different problems this year with Tigo installations. So one being where we actually were back on, we couldn't get a system commissioned, we were back 4 or 5 times, and ultimately we had to install an additional bit of kit called a tap, even though we absolutely don't think we should. We were following the guidance. That cost us a lot of time, caused us a bit of embarrassment, if I'm honest with you. But that's not the biggest problem. The biggest problem we've had is on a job that's just shy of 2 years old, and earlier on in the year, the customer said he's got two issues with 2 panels not monitoring, which turned out to be faulty optimisers. So he's within his 2-year workmanship warranty period with us, so we instructed a professional scaffolding to go up, stripped some bird proofing, stripped 2 panels, got new optimisers on, put it all back together, recommissioned, scaffolding comes down. But not only did we have to do that once, after we replaced those 2 optimisers, another optimiser did the same. Technical support, which are over in Italy, all they can say is it's a failed optimiser, we'll replace your optimiser. So any notion of Tigo paying for some of that installation work, forget that, it's all on us. So if you are an end user or a customer, and this is awkward for us because we've got a lot of jobs with Tigo products on them, if that product fails after your 2-year workmanship warranty, the sad news is you're going to need to pay to get that installed, or replaced I should say. So that means you're going to be looking at a scaffolding cost, labour, usually 2 people to work safely on a roof. So that's going to cost you way over £1,000, I would imagine, to get that done properly. But something else has popped up, which alarms me, if I'm honest with you, and I might as well say at this point, I've got 38 solar panels at home, and every single one of them is monitored. It's got Tigo optimisers and they're all monitored. I used to be a really big fan of it. So the thing that worries me is I get the same data as the customer gets on their phone, so each panel is monitored. So the 3 optimisers that we have replaced are way outperforming the one that we sat right next to it, to the tune of about 10%. So that begs the question, why is a 2-year optimiser 10% more efficient? Why is a 2-year optimiser 10% less efficient than a brand new one, and how inefficient do they go? So I can't get any answers from Tigo on that. So let me just dig into that a little bit more and I'll show you some detail on that. Let's have a look at some of the details on that job I'm talking about. So hopefully now you're looking at a quick video of the actual array itself. It's 2 strings across 2 roofs, one ever so slightly higher than the other one. Now hopefully you're now looking at the detailed data of each string. So what you're looking at here is essentially 1 day's generation. So the panels that were affected, and therefore the optimisers that were swapped over by us, were A4, A5 and B1. So what you'll notice is A4 and A5 outperform A3 quite considerably, so you're talking 10% there, and likewise A4, A5 are outperforming the panels underneath, again pretty much looking about 10%. B1 is outperforming B2 but is on par with the rest of those, so that is a little strange. Let's look at a different day, same array, same idea here, but again you can see A4, A5 is way outperforming the rest, but again B1 is pretty much on par with all the rest. B2 and A1 seem to be underperforming. possibly A1 due to a chimney, so that could actually be the optimizer doing its job. Let's have a look at reclaimed power. So that's what a typical day's worth of reclaimed power looks like. How they get that, I'm not too sure. So I did ask the Tigo rep, who said it's a calculation of voltage and current into each optimizer versus voltage and current out, and therefore that's where they get that number. That was his take on it. When I've done a little bit of digging about on it, it all seems to be software related, so I can't actually tell you exactly how they come up with that figure, but I think that figure should be documented, and I would like to hear from somebody at Tigo to explain exactly how that number comes around. Let's look at reclaimed power. So what this is just at any given time of when I took the snapshot. So again, you can see A4, A5 is reclaiming a whole lot more power than the panels around it. It's actually over 50%, what's twice as much. B1 is doing a little bit more than B4, 5, 6 and 3. B2 and A1 don't appear to be reclaiming anything. Again, another given day, A1, B2 reclaiming nothing, where A4 and A5 at that point in time were reclaiming a whole lot more than everything else. So why are they reclaiming more than something that's only 2 years old? That doesn't sit very well with me. What do you think? Let's just quickly have a look at that other job where I was moaning about us having to install an extra bit of kit. Hopefully you're now looking at that roof. So what you'll see from that roof is it's a nice straight roof and every panel physically touches each other panel. What I mean by that is there's not a big gap between. So we've got the tap wired pretty much in the middle of that array, where we're led to believe that each panel acts as a repeater, and I'll even stick the screenshot in here which shows us that ideally you don't want to be more than 35 meters away. There's absolutely no way that any one panel can be more than 35 meters away from that original tap. So we were back and forward. Tigo couldn't tell us what was going on, and therefore ultimately we had to install a second tap towards the right hand side of that array to get that going. So that's a small gripe. That isn't my main gripe with Tigo. However, all the problems that we've had on that other job, which has cost us a lot of money, and then the fact that I have concerns over how efficient these optimizers actually are. So I started this by saying, would you want them on your roof, knowing the risks that if they fail, what it's going to mean financially? And also, if you're an installer, are you happy offering this to your customers? Because as it stands, we won't be offering these to a customer. If a customer comes to us asking for them, I'll probably point them in the direction of this video and let them make their own mind up. But let's say some of the advantages of them, because as I said, I used to be a big fan of them. Rapid shutdown should not be overlooked. So in the event of arcing and sparking, and we're talking a fire here, rapid shutdown has to shut them down. So fair play, that is a good thing to have on your roof. It's a nice safety aspect to have. But furthermore than that, monitoring, it's a nice thing to have. But why do you need to monitor them when nearly all good solar systems will monitor the whole string? Do you really need individual monitoring? I don't think so. Panels don't fail, in our opinion. We've been installing solar for well over 5 years, and I can hand on heart tell you that we have not had a failed panel, but we've had failed optimizers. So that again asks the question, do you really need them? Why else would you want them? Possibly if you had a tricky roof and you've got panels over 3 different orientations, then you might want to look at them. But see if you don't have any of those issues, and in fact let's cover shading. Panels are so much better at dealing with shading than they used to be because they bypass diodes, so I wouldn't get too concerned about shading either. So in other words, shading versus cost of install and cost of potentially things needing replaced. So I hope I've given you enough information to choose for yourself whether you think installing Tigo optimizers with tap and monitoring is a good idea or not.